Athletics. Joining us now is the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell. Greg, I can't even sum up my own emotions. I can barely imagine what you're feeling right now, having covered BYU Athletics as closely as you have for decades now. How are you feeling on this Big 12 Friday?
Yeah, I'm thrilled, and it's an emotional day, and I feel emotions for those who are responsible for getting BYU to this. It feels like a finish line. It's a start of many great things, but it's a finish line in a way. And it wasn't just a decade of independence. It was decades on and off the field that put BYU in a position to have this day happen. And Dave referenced a lot of the key dates and players, but that's who you feel happy for, are those who laid the groundwork for this to occur. Whether it's coaches or administrators or athletes on teams that gave BYU the profile it's enjoyed for all these years, all those things transpired to have this day make sense to the people making the decisions in the Big 12. And that's what's most gratifying. Is this, while it was a semi-compressed process, very quick,
51 days.
51 days to get it all done, it may have come together quickly, but the process was really decades in the making. And of course, perhaps the most key 10 years were the decade of independence in football and WCC membership. BYU still had, rows to plow in those 10 years, and they had to excel within those 10 years. And even from the last 5 years, 2016, let's say, till now, 2016 is where maybe the last real thought about, might BYU be able to make a leap to the next level. From then till now, so many things have happened here on this campus that puts BYU in a different and a better position. BYU has allies today it didn't have maybe 5 or 10 years ago, and that's a part of this as well. So many good things happened in just the proper timeline and proper time frame. There were some people out there that were able to see the end from the beginning, and for them, I'm very, very happy.
2023, so 2-year engagement, then BYU jumps in. Caleb Lohner will be a senior. Jaron Hall will be a senior. It'll probably feel like a long 2 years, but there's still some work to be done in the next 2 years to get to that point, but here we are.
And one of the things I'd love to see done is win a WCC men's basketball championship.
Amen to that.
Right? I know Mark Pope's with me on that one. It's the one thing that hasn't happened, right, during this decade. And they have 2 more years to try and get it done. Hey, it's not going to get any easier. Gonzaga is not going to suddenly drop off here in the next 2 years. It'll be as tough as it ever was. But it would be nice to kind of hang your hat on that and say, yeah, we left an imprint in that particular sport. Others have done well. The women and many other sports have done well in the WCC, won titles, multiple titles. But men's basketball, kind of that marquee appointment viewing sport hasn't quite gotten there. They have a chance to do it now. The next 2, it'd be kind of fun to see it happen.
And then we'll see 2 Gonzagas in the Big 12.
Baylor and Kansas.
How often do we talk about the fact that Gonzaga is basically Kansas of the WCC? That's how dominant they've been in their league, as Kansas was for years and years in the Big 12. Well, now they get to experience the Kansas version of Kansas. And we've already talked about numbers. The league's numbers are solid, and they'll stay solid with the 4 teams, even losing the 2 teams that are departing. It doesn't get any easier to win a league, and suddenly that Baylor-Gonzaga game in the national championship has a different feel to it now, too, right?
Yes, it does.
As tough as what Gonzaga was to get by, Baylor just went nuts on them, and that's now the team in your league. Yet BYU will not be, whether it's men's basketball or women's soccer or any of the other sports you choose to look at, won't be a fish out of water. BYU will be in the mix with all the sports in which they compete. Yep. And they may not win titles right out of the gates, and it may be a while for some sports over others, but they'll be in the mix, and they won't at all feel like this is punching above their weight at all.
The news conference is slated to begin in about 6 minutes, and you can watch that right here during BYU Sports Nation. Greg, what are you hoping to learn doing the news conference? Because obviously we have a lot of questions about what full integration is going to mean for BYU Athletics.
Right. I think timetables will be interesting. I think it's already been stated that we have a 2-year window to look forward to in terms of transition, whether everyone joins at the same time, if there's any wiggle room there, or if there's any wiggle room at all for anything to happen before that time. I'm sure that Sunday play will get brought up, and what kind of concessions the Big 12 can make within its different sports to fit BYU into their schedules that way. So those are some logistical things that I think I'm curious about. But I think also, too, I'm anxious to hear, eager to hear the Big 12 perspective on why and how they value BYU and what they see BYU bringing to the table as an institution into this great league.
Today's a words of affirmation day. That's the love language that will be spoken in that press conference. And I imagine, like you said, over the next 2 years, we'll figure a lot of this out, right? Like, what's BYUTV's role exactly in things? What can we do? What are we going to do that we haven't been doing now that we're in a league, which will be fun? And then we've talked about basketball, but like you mentioned, women's soccer, women's volleyball. Baseball's going to be incredible, too.
Great league.
And the fact, Greg, that as of now, BYU's going to have 2 seasons with Texas and Oklahoma in the league.
As it stands right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know,
Who knows?
Right, exactly. But that's the way it's, and you know, and BYU's record in football, at least against those 2 schools, is well documented. But even if you take them out of it, you know, BYU's played all these teams at one point or another. Some more distant than others, but they've been on the schedule, at least in the 2 main sports, for some time, and not to mention the other sports. But and Dave hit some of the highlights too. I mean, whether it's, you know, BYU's first 2 bowl games were against Oklahoma State. The Cotton Bowl game, which you referenced, was a Big 12 team. You know, Steve Young, maybe the most famous play he was involved in was not a pass he threw, but one he caught, and that was against a team that was at that, you know, at one time part of the Big. There's a lot of crossover history from BYU and those teams in the past. Yeah.
And TCU is interesting too. We've sort of been like, oh yeah, them. We're back in the same league with TCU.
Right. Yeah. That
history.
Yeah. I was asked this morning about, you know, well, what kind of rivalry might exist? And you go, well, the one that kind of, you know, was there to build on was TCU. And by the time that thing ended with football, TCU had gotten to a point where that was a bear. That was a tough,
going to the
game.
Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was gnarly.
Yes, the Andy Dalton days.
Yes.
Greg Wrubell is with us on BYU Sports Nation. We talked briefly about Gonzaga and the West Coast Conference. I do want to read a statement from the WCC, and I quote, "We understand BYU's decision and wish everyone connected with the institution the very best moving forward." That's from Commissioner Gloria Navarez. BYU has been transparent in exploring opportunities to find league affiliation for its football program and has been presented with an opportunity that fits its needs. We will continue to value them as a member of the West Coast Conference through the 2022-2023 academic year. The WCC has been a fantastic partner for BYU athletics while football has been independent. And I think that, I guess I bring that up because I want to double down on that. We've really enjoyed being in the West Coast Conference.
And I think Tom Homo probably said it best when he said, you know, we got better in this league. This was a good league for BYU to be in to improve and display excellence. And, you know, they have what's called the Commissioner's Cup, which is kind of an overall excellence award in the WCC. And BYU's won that for years running. Their sports all performed at a very high level within the confines of this league. Yes, Gonzaga has been a tough nut to crack in men's basketball, but everywhere else, BYU has been winning titles and have been able to wear that WCC logo and patch proudly. And you know, association with Gonzaga, you know, was kind of an affirmation of the quality of that league. I think it wasn't just Gonzaga that had people thinking about the WCC the way they do. BYU is a big part of it. And already you see people in the WCC or those observing the WCC saying, you know, BYU is a big loss for that league. As great as Gonzaga is, you know, BYU kind of took it to a different level with venue size and attendance and viewership and interest. And so I think, you know, Gonzaga was part of a rising tide that helped BYU's boat, certainly in that sport. But absolutely, you know, you go back 10 years, BYU was trying to find a home. Initially, the WAC was to be that home. Those plans blew up. And the WCC became, you know, both a rescue rope and then an anchor for this program for a solid decade.
And Gonzaga, I feel, was threatened by BYU and took a leap up with their program. They were top 25-ish. They'd make a run in the Sweet 16. They became this juggernaut because of this sort of trio of BYU and St. Mary's.
Yeah, when they first met, during Jimmer's senior season, BYU was destined for the WCC at that point. They knew they were going to the WCC. Gonzaga knew they were coming. And BYU beat Gonzaga in the tournament to advance.
Got scared to death by that, I think.
And Mark's not going to say it. Mark Few's not going to say that BYU's but he's going to certainly concede the fact that, no, BYU coming in helped everyone kind of raise their game.
Yeah.
And let's note, too, that I think the WCC over the last few seasons and the Pomeroy rankings and other things show it, did gradually climb on a top-to-bottom basis to become a better basketball league. And certainly Gonzaga felt with BYU coming, we have to up our game. And they took an area of strength, made it even stronger to the point where they're now a juggernaut, clearly.
They're amazing.
And a great target to have. And now, you know, there's a more defined target. 2 seasons left to maybe try and knock them off the perch.
Greg, it's great to have you with us on such a monumental, exciting day
It
for
just feels
BYUSN.
so good.
It does. It feels amazing.
I've told anyone who would care to listen for years now that BYU is a P5 program in every way, but that stamp of membership, right? That says you're part of the club, and the Cougars have now been invited to that club of P5 programs. But it won't change how the Cougars have looked and sounded and felt and played and acted for years. They've acted like a big-time program, a P5 program. And as we know, other P5 programs treat them that way by scheduling them as a P5 for scheduling quotas, things like that. Well, now it'll be official, and it just feels really good and satisfying.
All right. We'll let you head over to the news conference in Studio C. We're going to bring you